So hello, everybody. Welcome to Museum Workers Advocacy Day, and thank you to those of you who are already engaging in the chat. I'm Nicole Font. I'm an early career archivist of the New York Botanical Garden, and I'll be moderating this afternoon session titled Museums Run on People, Why Staff Visibility is Advocacy. But before we get started, there are a few housekeeping items. This year, NEMPN has created a free government outreach webpage to help professionals connect with government officials and voice their concerns about the field. This resource allows you to directly reach out to your elected representatives and policymakers, providing language and guidance. Sharing your personal story, concerns, and recommendations can influence decision-making, and we hope you'll take this opportunity during Museum Workers Advocacy Day to speak out. And with that, I'll turn things over to our speakers, Annalise, Peyton, and Allie, who will introduce themselves.
Yay. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. And I know I'm speaking for all of us at the start, but I know we're all very excited to be part of this 2-day program. And I think worker advocacy is important to all of us. So I think we have a really fun topic that we're going to cover in just a moment. But first, I want to let Peyton and Annalise introduce themselves and share a little bit what they do.
Amazing. So hi, I'm Peyton. I'm the marketing coordinator with the New Bedford Whaling Museum. I just started about a year ago, so it sounds kind of dumb to say just started, but I still feel like I'm really feeling my way around and getting to know everything. And I work predominantly with content creation. So you're going to hear me say TikTok a lot, I fear, during this presentation. And for that, I apologize, but I'm all about finding new channels and different audiences and reaching out to people who might not see museums as accessible to them through means where they can kind of understand museums as human. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's really something I'm passionate about. So I'm super excited to be a part of this conversation. Thank you.
Yay.
And I'm Annalisa Conway. I'm the Chief Engagement Officer for the New Bedford Whaling Museum. I started at the Whaling Museum in August, so I did just start. And I come from a background of a bunch of different places, actually. I have a background in marketing and communications in a corporate space. I've also spent a lot of time in museums. I was at the Portland Museum of Art, and at the Providence Children's Museum, where I did direct outreach and development. And I've also been in schools, and I recently came directly from the New England Aquarium, so from a larger space. And I do not TikTok. I actually actually saying I do not TikTok is probably giving me away that I do not have TikTok. But I do call myself the TikTok grandma. So I'm not in the content. I'm not in the weeds of the content. I actually am excited that Peyton brings that perspective, but I am coming to it from the perspective of generating new audiences, looking for, I feel like in a nonprofit world, we're constantly chasing the younger audience, the new perspective, and bringing people to a third space and creating that community. And I feel like the third spaces right now exist in sort of like a fourth space, in that virtual space, and getting people to come together in person. So I'm looking at it from quite a different perspective, and I'm here to have Peyton shine and then give the perspective of the behind the scenes, sort of the strategy and the why I say go for it and let the team run with it.
One quick note before I introduce myself, because I think, Annalise, I want to give you credit for really demonstrating, even just in our behind the scenes conversations, of someone in a leadership position supporting the other staff and really championing them and giving them the spotlight that I know for some of us is rare to see. And I just really appreciate that and wanted to mention that. And real quick too, how do you guys work together? So what is the relationship in terms of the dualities of your positions in terms of what you do?
So the engagement team is a new team within the museum. Marketing and public relations and communications is where Peyton sits, but that's part of a broader team, which includes visitor experience, public programs, special events and rentals, and digital engagement, over which I sit. So I oversee those departments, and Peyton sits within them. And you'll see a lot of our visitor experience folks show up in our TikTok.
Yay. Okay. Thank you for answering
And
all
all
my
of our
questions.
social media. Yeah.
All right. And real quick, so I'm Allie Shell of Your Museum Career Coach. You probably see me being a little gremlin behind the keyboard on LinkedIn, advocating for pay transparency and, of course, museum workers. But then I also do career coaching to help people, especially museum workers, navigate the competitive job market and provide resources and all sorts of other things. And I wanted to share a little bit about, before we get into the meat of the presentation today, and this concept that I landed on as museum marketing, also as a form of advocacy and levels of advocacy within museums. This came to me as I was doom scrolling at like 2 a.m., as I do on my phone in my bed, just like, oh my gosh, whatever. And my social media kind of knows my algorithm pretty well, and was, for whatever reason, I think was bringing up a lot of like library talk. So send out for the comments if you follow library talk too. And this was also during a time, this is several months ago, where one of the many times where museums and libraries and cultural sites were under like the funding cut, and we're in the news a lot. And so I think a lot of like library content was coming up. And as I was sitting there, I was like, they are really like nailing it in terms of like humanizing their staff, and they're like fun and nerdy, and they're not just like promoting things that are going on at the site or sharing their favorite book very simply, but doing really fun, quirky things and hopefully like being themselves. And I just was sitting there and I was like, man, what would be great if, I know museums are doing that in some spaces, but I would like love to see more of this out there and places humanizing their staff in this way, because I think a lot of times museums present themselves as places and not workplaces. And I was like, wow, amazing would it be, especially at a time when whole departments are being cut. I'm not going to mention the Speed Art Museum or the Lucas Art Museum, but where whole departments are being cut, and there are jobs that are being consolidated, that have been being consolidated from like full-time to part-time or within departments. And so a lot of people aren't aware of like what is actually going on with museum workers. And I think having social media and humanizing them in a certain way through really fun, but also just like really personable content can really shift the narrative and allow people to see who is behind the scenes, not just the collection items, not just the events that they're putting on or the exhibits, or, you know, you have your typical person that's just in front of the camera talking about something, but doing really fun and interesting things. And I threw it out there in a LinkedIn post. I can always share it in the chat, and in my 2 a.m. notes on my notes app on my phone. Got really good feedback and interest in the comments, and a lot of people sharing different places that they felt were doing this well. And of course, one of them was in New Bedford. And when we got approached to do this presentation, I was like, yo, New Bedford, you want to do this with me? I love what you're doing. And I'm so delighted to have them here. And really, this is going to be a chance for Peyton and Annalise to lead the conversation. I'm just going to be in the background kind of directing things and sharing what they do. And also we're going to have a little part at the end as well, where we're going to brainstorm a little bit and think about, even if you're not currently working in a museum, maybe how you would go about centering staff in some of the content you might create, or things beyond just social media, just in the different ways that museums reach out to people through marketing and things like that. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our leading ladies with New Bedford. And I would love first if you guys could just share a little bit about the museum, and then and then I have a question to kick things off.
Sure, I can take this one. So the New Bedford Whaling Museum was founded in 1903. It actually was not founded as a whaling museum. It was founded as the Old Dartmouth Historical Society, which was a collection of museums, one of which became a whaling museum. But it was a collection of museums, being an art museum, a historical society, to really present the story of Old Dartmouth, which is what people now know as New Bedford, Fairhaven. If you're from the area, you may know Fall River, Mattapoisett, Marion, Dartmouth, essentially the South Coast region. And I may get my dates wrong, but there was a wonderful woman whose name was Miss Bourne, whose father was a whaler and had a boat, and she bought the building, which we now call the Bourne Building. And she decided, as an honor to her father, she would create a half-size whaleboat, which you see in this image here on the left. And it is an exact replica of her father's whaling boat, called the Lagoda. And it was built in the actual building because there is no way to bring it in or out. And it looks like a ship in a bottle. And so it is the largest ship model that exists. And it is very large. However, I will tell you, when you see it and you realize it's a half size, you realize how tight the whale boats were when they went out to sea. Sorry. The museum has grown. We now have 10 buildings that are connected, which you don't actually notice when you're walking through the galleries, but we are not just about whaling. We have fine arts, we have natural history and science, and we focus a lot on the culture of New Bedford, which is very unique and diverse due to the transatlantic and transglobal activities that took place in the 19th century around whaling. We also have, as you'll see in this other picture, we have whale skeletons. We actually have 5 real whale skeletons that are suspended around our museum, 4 of which are in our main entrance space here. And it's a little bit of everything. It keeps growing. It keeps changing. People come when they're little, they come all the time through field trips, and then they return and they say, I can't believe there's still some things that are the same, but so many different things have changed. We have a theater where we put on film festivals and show 3D movies every day for our visitors. And we have large event spaces. People get married there. We are now in the middle of an expansion, a $37 million expansion, where we are adding on an additional 20,000 square feet of space. So it's a pretty significant space. Even though we have 10 buildings, the spaces within those 10 buildings are small. They do not have the right sort of technical abilities, as you can imagine. They're antique buildings, so they don't have the right HVAC. I'm getting very technical with you all, but they don't have the right HVAC systems to be able to have large exhibits. So we're thrilled to be able to have 6,000 square feet of exhibit space. And our bottom floors are all free to the public. So even in our new exhibition space, we will have a welcome center, as in our current building. Our first floor is completely free to the public, which makes us a real center of the community. You'll see the Moby Dick Marathon there since, well, it's been 30 years. So since 1997, we have been hosting a full read of the Moby Dick Marathon, which goes over 25 hours. Sorry, a full read of Melville's book, Moby Dick, which goes over 25 hours, cover to cover. And this last January, because it coincides with when Melville left on the whaleboat, the Acushnet, which he did not finish his tour on that whaleboat, in 1845. Peyton checked me on the dates. I'm going to say 1845. This last year we had 3,100 people come to the Moby Dick Marathon. So that is one of our biggest events that we put on. And it has actually, one of the reasons it was so successful this last year is due to the popularity that grew on TikTok. Not by our TikTok channel, but by the entomology nerd, if you follow him on TikTok. So a lot of people that we spoke to who came this year, there was a much younger crowd, a much different crowd. The old salts were thrilled to see a younger, more dynamic crowd come in. And many of them anecdotally said it was due to the entomology nerd. Not bugs, but words. So not the same, different definition. So that's a little bit about our museum. We are just, for those of you who don't know where New Bedford is, we are just south of Boston, right on the water. And we have the largest, I have to get this right, the most profitable fishing dock in the country. So they have the most profitable fishing center of the country, and scallops are our specialty. So when you go and get scallops, they likely came from New Bedford and likely came through our port.
Oh my gosh. On my list now to visit. I do go out to Boston, so I'm gonna make a side trip and come see you guys.
Absolutely. We have a train stop now, which is exciting.
We do.
We have a train stop.
It's new.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Annalise, for sharing all about your museum. I learned stuff too, even though I did some research on you guys. So definitely has confirmed my interest. And I think also it's going to help give some context for some of the videos that we're also going to show, short clips and things. So my question to kind of both of you, and probably to you, Peyton, first, is with both of you sort of being relatively new within the last year or so, what sort of shift, or like how did you go about taking this style of centering the worker? Was it there before, or was that something new, or was there little threads of it there and you kind of took it further? But I kind of want to know, like, what is the origin of having that focus in your content?
Definitely, yeah. So I can start with this. We definitely had a presence before on TikTok, and I think the onset of, I think I say the entomology, I always say the opposite of whichever is not bugs. But the onset of his TikTok really showed us the potential with this, where instead of doing like you see on YouTube Shorts or sometimes even on Instagram Reels, you get that like high quality, very curated, like interview Ken Burns style of content, which has its place on TikTok, but this also kind of revealed to us it can be a very casual, accessible process where honestly, like the lower the barrier to entry to understanding the TikTok, the better. And so I think we kind of realized there's this untapped potential. And of course, I come in, I'm 23, I love TikTok. I eat up TikTok. And as soon as someone said the first syllable, they said tick, and immediately I said, you want me to work on that? I would love to help work on this. And so I'm also coming at this from a very unique perspective where my background, I graduated from college. I have my bachelor's in history and my master's in business. So I'm coming at this from like a very like nuanced perspective where I've worked in archives, I've worked with curatorial teams, I've worked with marketing and development. And so like kind of seeing the role that marketing has in each of those different realms of the museum, it's truly like there's so much untapped potential. And this goes beyond just TikTok too, because I'm sure there's people in the audience who are like, I never want to download that ever. Like that's a crazy, and that's, I completely understand. I think you can apply these kind of lessons with seeing marketing as a component of every single museum department, of every single museum position, and everyone has a unique perspective that they're really looking to share with the public in some way. And so here you kind of see like an array of our lovely workers and their tolerance of me as an employee. And so we have our visitor experience manager. We have one of our curators who gives kind of like walkthroughs through their special exhibit that's up right now. And we have two of our frontline workers who I think should pursue a career in acting, who are really passionate about doing TikToks. And every time I walk by them, they're like, is it TikTok time? And I'm like, guys, I need to think. And so, I'm losing the plot a little bit, but I think we just really took a position where TikTok kind of became this avenue for reaching an audience that museums traditionally have some trouble with reaching. And I'm kind of stereotyping here, but looking at our audience demographics, there's so many more in the realm of 18 to even 35, the Gen Z millennials who kind of like might not know about the museum, or in our case, we have a lot of people. It's pretty mandated that anyone from Massachusetts went to the Whaling Museum in third grade. I remember doing it. When I interviewed, I was like, I haven't been here since my third grade field trip. And they're like, that's what we hear every day. So I think it's like kind of breaking that and making people realize it's that we're not static. We are constantly moving, constantly evolving, and there's something that appeals to everyone. And so centering the workers has really helped us with that.
And for you, Annalise, and you might have something to riff off of Peyton, but how has that, like seeing the work that Peyton does with, we'll dive a little bit more and see, you all listening can see a little more of like all the different ways that workers are included, but how maybe has that influenced the type of marketing that you do, right? So you might not be doing the social media, but you're helping with other types of marketing. Is that getting integrated in any way, or would you like it to be integrated?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's one piece of just the general strategy, or not the general strategy, but our overall strategy. I mean, I think one of the things a lot of times and again, Peyton speaking to it, is that museums get that bad rep. I mean, you all know it gets the reputation of being either, and I would say actually the Whaling Museum gets more of this, is that there's so much dynamic culture and art happening in New Bedford. It is such a dynamic art-based community that sometimes the Whaling Museum is sort of like the I don't know, the stiff neighbor that it's like we have to tolerate the Whaling Museum, and yet there's so much energy that happens there. We have an incredible chief curator who has this new vision coming from a college. She was a college professor, so she's coming to it with this new idea and vision, and we have a broad new leadership change across the board. I'm saying new leadership, it's within the last 10 years, but there's still this updated vision and refreshed energy within the Whaling Museum. And we're at this incredible point of growth, like I mentioned. So wanting to see that the energy that is within the museum actually fits within this broader context of New Bedford, of the creative community that's out there. And then bringing to life the folks, or bringing outside the museum, the folks that you're going to interact with when you're in the museum, right? Like when you go to a museum, like you said, when you go to a library, you're interacting with the people on the floor, you're interacting with librarians, you're not interacting with the people who are behind the doors, who are making the decisions about what goes into marketing. So you should be seeing those folks. And we can talk later about what the reaction has been from our visitors who come back to seeing their friends online, even if it's people that they've interacted with, on their regular visits. But it is bringing back, like Peyton's saying, it works perfectly to say to people, it's not just the place that you went to in third grade because you were mandated to go. It's somewhere you want to bring your kids back. It's somewhere you want to go back on your own. We have programs on First Friday nights with musical artists. We had, I think I mentioned this, in March, we had a Latin jazz program with amazing musicians where we were completely sold out and packed. And the energy in that room and the energy in the space, and it trickled out of the museum and hit the bars and the restaurants. And we couldn't have had that group probably 5 years ago, because we wouldn't have had the audience reach or the population. And the programs that we have are also equally as exciting and interesting and fun. So when people see that energy online, we just want the energy online, or the energy in our marketing and our advertising, to reflect what you're actually getting in that product. And I think that previously we'd been underselling ourselves. We'd been sort of holding back from that excitement and that fun.
Yeah, and you all bring some good points of like matching what the energy is in your marketing or what the videos are to what people expect when they come in. And I think for some museums, like they might just create the fun TikTok videos or whatever, the fun viral videos, but then like they're not seeing that necessarily like reflected within the overall culture. So I love that that is something that is getting integrated overall. And I think that really shows to authenticity. And something that you mentioned, Peyton, in our sort of side conversation as we were putting together is the concept of democratizing TikTok. And I really would love for you to speak on that and how that works and kind of how you came about that, because I think that'll be helpful for people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that TikTok or Instagram Reels, whatever you prefer, it's such a individual experience where there's so many different, like you mentioned, you get like library talks. I get library talks, and then I'll get like some random like other niche interest. And I'm like, how does it know that about me? But the beauty of it, whatever algorithm be at large, is that everyone has such a unique experience and an understanding of what works and what might resonate with a different audience. And with that, I would never be a good like marketing coordinator if I said I was the only one who knew things about marketing. And so there's kind of a beauty in being able to go to our frontline staff, and I'm on team with them, and they're used to me like gabbing with them all the time and saying like, what have you been seeing? And is there anything that you are, honestly, more of the time they bring it to me and they say, can we do this? And I'm like, I would love to. And even if it's not something I've seen before, it's kind of something I have to have like the faith in a little bit and say like, I kind of see the vision for this. And then it'll resonate really well, and like completely like our audience will really like it. And so there's kind of this idea where it's like social media is such like a it's almost like it works in the fact that it's almost ununderstandable with like what exactly is going to resonate. And so now, like, by opening it up to everyone in the museum and especially front facing staff, they know our visitors the best. Like, I would be very hypocritical for me to sit in my little desk and then say, oh, I know exactly what our visitors will like. And so I think just in their side conversations, checking people in, they have ideas where they're like, we should do something. We have a whale scavenger hunt, and they'll be like, we should do something about the whale scavenger hunt. And I'm like, sold, like, let's do it. And so I think it's having that trust and that faith, and also knowing that, like, I am not the end all be all of what is going to be funny and smart and popular on the internet. And I think with that also, sometimes I have ideas and I bring it to the largely 18 to 29-year-olds that work at our frontline in our frontline situation, and they'll be like, Peyton, that doesn't make any sense. So I think it's all about kind of that cross coordination and remembering that the audience we're attempting to hit and the audience we're attempting to segment and bring the museum to is within the museum. And they know our visitors the best, and they know that, like, as much as I can talk about like the brand guide and the fonts and the colors, they can talk about visitor interests and demographics and what's really going to stick with the people who come in. So it's really, really cool.
So I'm going to scroll ahead to like one of our examples, and sorry, the video might play real quick and I'm going to like breathe past it. So out of these, like, is the gift shop item ones, for example, like, was that like was that a worker like content idea?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, I would say both. We had we had these two huge jelly cats we were trying to sell in our gift shop, and Annalise is gonna laugh because I am very upset. They recently sold, and I am now mascotless. But this was kind of a resolution to two problems at once, which is, or not problems, but two different situations where we have some people who are a little more camera shy than others, and that's completely okay. A big part of this is like consent, and they still want to be included in the process, but maybe not have their face on TikTok, which is completely fine. I looked at these big jelly cats and they said, can we use them? And I said, absolutely, we can use them. So in these two gift shop TikToks, I think you see one, which is, I've never watched Parks and Rec, which I've heard is quite sinful for someone of my age to have never seen Parks and Rec before. Okay, that makes me feel better.
I don't either.
And I think it's for Parks and Rec. And Emily, our visitor experience manager, said, this is really funny. I promise it's going to work. You just have to let me have my vision. And I said, okay, heard.
Yeah.
I said,
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry, Samantha. I know.
I know. Friends have lovingly called me, I guess, the Leslie Knope of the museum world. And I'm like, I need to know. So anyway, okay, we're going to share two quick videos, but knowing that this is like content that is from the minds of people and centered in this, right? I think that's really important, that, like, I think so many museums are so risk adverse, and to remove kind of the control from some of these things. And so it's like refreshing to see what happens when you have a little fun.
Once a year, Donna and I spend a day treating ourselves. What do we treat ourselves to?
Clothes.
Treat yourself.
Fragrances.
Treat yourself.
Massages.
Treat yourself.
Mimosas.
Treat yourself.
Fine leather goods.
Treat yourself.
It's the best day of the year.
The best day of the year.
So that's Emily, and we love Emily. And she truly, I was just the woman with the camera. She said, you're going to follow me around for this one, and I have a vision. I said, okay, thank you, Madeline, and thank you, Megan. I feel better now. And this one is, so something you never thought would be brought up in a work conference ever is the TV show Heated Rivalry, which was the talk of the town with the crowd that I spoke of before. I had watched it, and someone at the front desk said, we have this audio, you could maybe use it. I said, I could use it, but as the girl bringing it to like a work meeting and contextualizing it, we have to make this really good. And you have the result as follows.
I will have to preface this as I am putting myself, like, and I'm sure like Nicole in the background too, who gave our introductions, like coming from places that were really rigid about this. Like if I'm just like imagining myself sitting in like a social media meeting, which I was looped in as an educator, I would be like, oh my God, I think everyone in that meeting would have a heart attack. But be like, the museum is never going to survive this. But your museum survived, and they sold the items. So I think that's the important thing, right? Nope, sorry.
No, that's okay.
No.
We know it's Sabree.
Oh, where is it? Hold on. That's fine. We'll do this one. We'll get to the. It's later on in the presentation. I will find it real
Oh my
quick.
gosh, no, that's okay. I'm glad I didn't just ad lib that by accident. And everyone was like, she just wanted to talk about that show. Thank you. Thank you. So that was our first feature with Gilbert. This got, I think, 10,000 views, 6,000 likes. And then the Heated Rivalry one got like 50,000 likes, which is kind of incredible. So it's an instance of like really knowing our, thank you, Margaret.
You do, Margaret.
Really like resonating with that audience and using something that's trending that we could kind of make work for us in a way. And if you told me in a professional capacity I would ever be doing this with a stuffed whale, I don't know if I would have believed you. And that's kind of the beauty of it.
Okay, here you go. But you sold the whale, and that's the important
We
thing.
sold it.
Oh, I know what I need to do. Give me 2 seconds, guys.
Oh, you got it.
But anyway, I realized what I had to do to make videos work on here. But you know, one of the like key things of all of this is that it's like transcending lots of different areas, right? So you're helping with selling, and kind of like back to your first point, right? It's like everybody's included, everybody's a marketer. You're helping sell gift shop items. Can you like, is there any other times that you like posted something and like it sold on from the gift shop?
Like, yes, a huge one. We have a T-shirt that which I think is also.
Ask you, hold on. Will
You're good. Keep going. I'm sorry.
We have to watch this first. I think everybody's too distracted.
I know. Everyone's like giving my Heated Rivalry.
I was gonna ask you, hold on. Will you come to my cottage this summer?
I love that so much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, at least go ahead.
No. I want to see that. And I will say I was 100% supportive of this because I felt like, one, it wasn't just this age group that was talking about heated rivalry. I mean, like, it was the subject of our Christmas conversation at the Christmas table. And with, 3 generations. And it was so, I thought it was just so perfect because it tapped into something that everybody was talking about. It was done in such a way that, like you said, the museum's not going to survive it. How is the museum not going to survive it? Like, it's perfect. There's nothing offensive about it. The other thing is, our CEO, our president and CEO's daughter follows us on TikTok, saw that and said to her mother, this is the best content you guys have ever put out. And so, we get this reiteration too. It's like, it's getting feedback. It also is coming to people because now we've built up such a, Peyton, you're going to kill me.
Following.
That people are seeing our content who typically they're not even following us, and they're seeing it and they live like a block away and they're like, now I'm coming to the Whaling Museum. They haven't necessarily been doing that before. So no, I think the more we could do and the timing was perfect too. So the more we can do to latch on to things just like Heated Rivalry, where it's everyone's talking about it, everyone's into it, and it was adorable. Like the two giant jelly cats talking to each other is the cutest thing, and they went home together. You should know they were sold off together. So.
They didn't get separated. Oh my god, that is amazing.
Yeah.
So shifting a little bit, or going back, I guess, to cover some of the earlier videos that we kind of breezed past in a second. I think what also is really important is the fact that you were telling me in our conversation, Peyton, that people would recognize the people in the videos. And even our kind of conversation right before this got started, right, we were talking about different accounts that we like. And we actually were mentioning like the workers featured in that content. Like, that's kind of why we follow them. And I think it goes back to that authenticity. Like we're saying, if you follow Staples Baddie, right, like marketing genius, but the real marketing behind it is it's someone, again, not polished, right? You're not making these curated videos, because I think especially for museums, there's that barrier already. We'll always have that barrier. I think unlike libraries, like we already will have that thing that we need to help people over, and having things perfect, having things that are fun. and letting people's personality shine, I think, is really really a big thing. And so just wanted you to speak on that, and then we'll share a little bit of like the workers featured in here. But like Emily that we saw in the one video, I guess she's known by her sweater. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, Emily has kind of her iconic sweater. It's like a good luck sweater. Usually the ones where she's wearing that happen to get more traction. And so I do try to schedule filming around when she has that on. The warmer weather will not fare well for us. But it's really exciting. We kind of have some fans, some people who like recognize when we have like a person who's regularly in content, which a couple of our frontline staff members are. And so we'll get comments where like, oh my gosh, like she checked me in for my visit today. I love her. Or like when they come up to the front desk, they'll say, I saw you on my TikTok. So it's really exciting. It's just really fun to see like that type of engagement with our audience, and seeing them in real life sounds like a stupid thing to say, but seeing them come into the museum and kind of that like that journey of them seeing us on TikTok, recognizing, and then coming in and saying like, oh my gosh, I saw you in that TikTok. That was great, which is really, really amazing. Yeah, the sweater has been pointed out. I'm thinking through other like comments. I know we've had like little kids on field trips say they've seen our admissions staff on like on TikTok, which is concerning. So I'm like, why do you have TikTok? But I'll get like a DM and I'll be like, hi, I'm 11 and I saw you today on my field trip. It's so cute. I'm like, thank you.
I love that. And I want to give you credit because I'm remembering too from our conversation, and this is like a quotable thing that we need to like put up somewhere, but you were saying that the face, like your frontline staff is like the face of your organization. When people enter physically, that should be reflected also, the face of the organization online.
Absolutely.
So speaking more towards that, but I want to give you full credit. I love that. I'm like, that is absolutely 100% true. And obviously that doesn't happen across the board. So really you can speak to that.
No, we appreciate it. And I think that's really the goal. And that's like truly something I appreciate about this institution too, is where that's like promoted and where workers can really be celebrated in that sense for what they do and to contribute to the museum, because they're making the experience already, like physically. And so it just makes sense that they would be the ones. It would be like kind of crazy if, as the marketing coordinator who's not totally public facing, I said, I'm going to go stand behind the front desk and pretend like I know how to check people in. And that would just be, like you said, it's all about authenticity. And I think people really have a well-developed sixth sense, especially in the age that we're in, for what is authentic and what is not. And so I think truly letting people be themselves and letting their personality shine. Someone in the comments mentioned the Carnegie snail guy, which I'm so excited about. Sam Baird. I am such a huge fan of Tim Pierce, and I'm not even a big like science girl. Like I know that's sacrilege because I work at a partially science-focused museum. I followed him and I was learning so much about snails. If anyone doesn't know, he was, I believe, a curator. Sorry, now my printer is going, but a curator at the Carnegie Museums, and he had like Snail Day. And so
yes,
remember that? And he was such a distinct part of my like pandemic experience. And I had zero interest in snails. It was all about his personality and his passion that really shined through. And so I think trying to create content that aligns with that is ideal. Yeah, Monday Mollusks. That's what it was. I loved him.
Yeah, I love it. No, and I think.
Oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Peyton. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say,
I'm getting a video up
in San Francisco that does daily printmaking, and it's just like little man who like rolls out prints, and he talks about why it resonates with the day. And I just think like
a glass half full.
Yeah, letting people's personalities shine is the way to go. That's my take.
Well, speaking of letting someone's personality shine, I was trying to get really good video. Here we go. This is the one I wanted.
A glass half full.
I love this one.
A glass half empty. No drinks in the galleries, please. Okay, but can I touch this? I made it rain here once. I thought this was the Whaling Museum. I thought this was an aquarium. It's all about the balance, you know? Yeah, but where's your restroom? So where are the whales? Where's the whale?
I love that because it like even though that they're still participating, you know, in a trend, it's you can still see that person being authentically them. So I think that's amazing.
Absolutely.
And I think as we're going in this direction, I can always go back to some videos, but I think like going now more into like the impact on what that has had on the staff of like involving them as part of the process. So you'll see like I have little like notes here on like what different types of things, but I'm sure there's more we can talk about, right? So like one of the things that stuck out in our conversation is you guys have an amazing retention for frontline workers, and just sharing more about that, and obviously including them as part of these things, I'm sure is a part of it.
Yeah, so we do have amazing retention. I think a lot of that is Emily, Emily's management, and her can-do attitude and her advocacy for her team, and getting them involved in things like this. You know, she's more than willing to have them use their time to get involved in things like this. And I will say, Sinette, who was just in that last glass video, she's the one who people said, I just love. She was the star of the TikTok was the star of my visit. And the feedback that she's getting, initially, she didn't want to do these. She didn't want to be involved in them. And now
she's so good.
So good. She's a born star. And we've had Jackson, I think he's in many of the videos. He was Peyton, the first week he was here?
The first day.
Yeah.
I think, or was it his first week? We were contemplating doing a Zara Larson dance, you know, the Lush Life dance. And I was like, that feels like hazing. It's your first week. We cannot do that. But he's been so enthusiastic about the whole process. And it's really amazing to kind of bring that to part of the, like, I don't know, it's like our weekly like ritual. It's really fun.
Yeah. So I think it also really knits our team together. Cause like I mentioned, we're a brand new department as the engagement team. And I think it's really helped to knit us all together. Peyton, like I said, like Peyton said, Peyton's up there every week working on some creative things together. And I think they just all have a really good time doing it. And then we see the success of it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Let's watch some videos real quick and we can see some of that in action.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. You know, I got a bone to pick with you. Not to toot my own horn. I'm gonna flag this one for later. There's a few tea to be spilled. That was a boatload of fun.
Thanks for the tour. I had a whale of a good time.
Oh my God, I just love that so much.
Thank you. This one was fun. It was like I was like, bad puns, guys. Like, and by the end of it, they were suggesting so many. And that's just another, like, truly I go in with like an idea that's like, maybe we do something with bad puns, and then it just evolves from there, or they come with it. It's like a brainstorming session, which is really cool.
Megan, if you're talking
like morale. Oh,
yes, absolutely. And Peyton.
Yes, so that's cooler.
I mean, she's joy in a person.
well, and I think some other things to mention, right? So obviously like increased morale is really important, like just in terms of like people having fun. You know, I think we get so serious in the work that we do, and like there's not really a lot of room in many roles like given to just like letting people kind of do their own thing. But then also anything you can kind of speak to, Peyton, on like professional development in the sense of, you know, the fact that these workers are both like staying here for a while, but then they're doing like production, they're coming up with the content, like there's skills that they're learning that are then marketable that they could take it and move on to somewhere else. So is there anything like more you can speak to on sort of skills to get out of this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of really like, I mean, if we talk about like the fun that we have and the humor it brings out, but I think there's also some really like tangible, like, is it like hard and soft skills that you can get from this, where you have like the production, the editing, really getting to know the museum collections, I think is super cool. And then there's the aspect of it that's like there's a lot of like customer service in terms of knowing what visitors might be asking, and what you saw in the glass of water trend that we kind of took a spin on. It was like, what would an out-of-state visitor first ask, and like kind of putting those skills to use. It also really kind of gets some exposure to the inside world of marketing and kind of how it works, and thinking about, okay, we've made this TikTok, now who should we send it out to? TikTok hashtags, I've learned, are very, very effective at getting it to exactly the audience you like target. So I do like hashtag New Bedford, and the comments are always like, how did you know I live 3 blocks away? I did not put this brick on your For You page. That was all you. And so I think there's just a lot to be said. And Annalisa, let me know if I'm missing anything, but I think it's just a really exciting resume builder in terms of that, like kind of public facing
A
creative
glass half full.
brand. And
Sorry. There you go. I'm sorry.
I love the collection point because I hadn't necessarily thought about that too. But you do spend, and I think one of the things that I think we find probably both of us do a little bit more is spending time actually searching our collection, even things that are not on view. We have a tremendous permanent collection, so much so that we store most of it offsite. We don't have a lot of it on view. And being able to pick things out and then get to know them. I do have to say, one of the before and afters that I don't think we should show the before, but the after, the curator interview and making it interesting is that's an incredible one, because I do think, the experience of hearing from a curator directly, but then having it be really engaging. And that's something that, even though the frontline staff aren't involved in that, I do think that that's an opportunity, like, for anybody to learn more about the collection. But specifically, like when you're talking about the frontline team, when they're engaging with the collection in something and they learn the history about it, I think that's a huge professional development opportunity.
Can you share real quick, Payne? I'm going to show this video, and then I see 2 really important questions I do want to get to that are just going to get integrated into our kind of overall conversation.
Yeah.
But can you talk, Payne, about what you did to make curator interviews a little more interesting?
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is very much like, I'll say it's my entry level into video editing for you all to keep in mind. TikTok is a great place to experiment if you are not super, and also Canva has a video editor now, which is way more accessible. But if you're a video editor and you're watching this, no, you didn't. So this was, I did like a curator tour with Marina. They're one of our curators. They're amazing. And they have so much knowledge and understanding of the objects that they're presenting, obviously. And so I was thinking, something I learned in school is that now the average attention span is 8 seconds. So it's about, how do you hook people in 8 seconds to make them continue? And I think about it on like an 8-second loop, where I'm like, how can I keep people kind of staying engaged and making sure that they're kind of like retaining something from this? And so this was my venture into trying to make it a little more engaging, kind of Ken Burnsy. So it's still appealing to people who prefer maybe like the formal museum content, but keeping it short enough and interesting enough that maybe we'll reach kind of a new market with this. And maybe this will kind of bleed into the audience that's seeing like our heated rivalry content and our gift shop content. And maybe they'll be scrolling and they'll happen to stop on this one. And so that's kind of the formula that I went into it with, and kind of what I've been trying to use ever since.
Love it.
Hi, I'm Marina Dawn Wells. I'm the curator of Look Pleasant Please, early portrait photography in New Bedford. Look Pleasant Please is a direct quote from New Bedford photographer George F. Parlow. Parlow was one of 200 photographers who practiced in New Bedford between the medium's invention in 1839 and around the turn of the century in 1900. There are over 300 objects in this exhibit. It is a wonderful selection of items from the New Bedford Whaling Museum collection. It represents all of the different photographic media that were very popular during the period. Have daguerreotypes, ambrotypes, tintypes, cartes de visite, cabinet cards, and others.
I love it. It's so fun.
Thank you. This took me an embarrassingly long amount of time. I will tell you that.
I can only imagine. So to integrate that in, right? So we've seen you luckily have a really supportive workplace that allows for you all to be really creative and take in all different ideas. Risk taking necessarily isn't it, but I think just being creative in general, right? So basically people want to know that how do you work with, and you might not have experienced this, but maybe some recommendations, like a place that is really risk adverse, doesn't really see the value of fun content, and someone's like measurables don't work, like that's not enough to persuade them. So I don't know, whatever you can kind of say and speak to that to give them some.
Those questions are part of the reason that I did think we should show the curator interview, because I think it is a continuum, right? There's sort of, you start with this, you don't have to jump into the heated rivalry TikTok as your first example of what you want to do to fun things. I think you could start with doing some of the curator interviews, but not having just a talking head. What we were doing in the past, and what Peyton did there, was edit in all of that interesting content to keep it moving, because in the past it would just be a curator standing in front of the show talking. The tape did some amazing, like, speed up the footage, pull back, do some like cute, like walking through, you've probably seen, I can't remember who did it, but some of the museums that have done like the boomers speaking in Gen Z about their exhibits, which are hilarious. But again, I think like some museums may be hesitant because they feel like it's not serious enough, it's not like scholarly enough. And I do think if you start out with something like a curator interview that just slots in some of the content that they're already showing, and you can show how it's presented, to just keep it interesting, and then maybe do your own little test and ask, could we do something like this? And then begin to push the boundaries just a little bit. Because Peyton, we didn't start with heated rivalry. I do think we started with the Sabrina Carpenter. That may have been one of the first ones, but I also think actually it may have been the Taylor Swift Life of a Whaler that we started with. That might have been like one of the first Instagram posts when she released the album Life of a Showgirl. We switched out Showgirl for Whaler. And then took each one of the songs and used an object in our collection to align with the songs. So I think you can start with these little pieces and test it out, and just ask for the permission to do that. You could also use some of we can send you more stats as a follow-up, and you can use some of our content as case studies, because the shirt, if you want to show the ever shirt, that advertisement, so that was one of the top sellers for the year, and it got many views. That engaged a lot of visitors talking about how great Sinette was as a visitor experience person. And we're happy to share data if you want it, but I think some of it is just building that trust with leadership, that you're not going to go completely over the edge on the first video. You'll do that later.
Yeah. And I can add, if it's okay, I think it's also worth noting that not every trend is going to work for each museum. There's a lot of like creative thinking that goes into that, but there's also like, I think in terms of like looking at authenticity, people also appreciate when a museum really knows its niche and it plays kind of, I'm not saying don't think outside of the box, but I think people can tell when you're kind of trying to like force a trend. I've gone to the front desk and I've said like, hey, could we try this? And they're like, that's like, we don't know if that's going to resonate. And that's completely okay. And that's where like you have this interesting balance of creative liberty and authenticity, and kind of getting a chance to play around with that. And I think I'm thinking through these questions about how you can kind of like transition from the curated videos and from like fun content. And I think it's just, there's so many opportunities to kind of, I don't want to say wait and see, but like listen to what Library Talk is doing, listen to what Museum Talk is doing, and kind of see if there's a sound. I mean, the beauty of social media too is that imitation really is the highest form of flattery. Like but you take ideas and you kind of make them yours. And you can point to other museums doing it. I know I'm coming to Annalise's office, who is very open. Thank God. Thank you. And I've said, oh, look what this museum across the country is doing. And look, they did it too. And so kind of building up that repertoire and showing, I think, just the level of engagement that it creates and the conversation that it creates. And now I'm rambling, but it's a hard question. And it's hard to determine exactly like, how do you convince someone that this is going to land, and how do you kind of take that risk? And I think it's all about like you said, building that trust and kind of having that faith and showing. We would be happy to share with you any type of like statistics if it helps, or collaborate. We'd be happy to collaborate on a TikTok. That's something I'm really trying to venture into. And I'm not saying we're like perfect, and we're definitely not like the biggest TikTok audience out there, but I think it's all about uplifting each other and kind of contributing to that conversation.
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt, but
I know we're
are
at time.
So I do just want to give you guys an opportunity to say any like final words or give any advice to folks who are starting out doing this sort of engagement.
And I can show real quick, or just point you guys to some of the links here, because I think just one little point, and then I'll let you guys go in terms of like answering, put all the pieces together. So like one thing is like this one video is about like a department crossover, and it's playing a fun game, but it's really, really silly. And so it's like a neat way to like get departments to interact. And then the other one is like a t-shirt that is from a negative review. So even just like commenting on things that people are commenting on, and then things that have gone viral for you guys, which is a comment of like, oh, like the staff didn't let me do this thing, and then you guys turned it around into a positive, and it became this fun viral video. So even just like utilizing things that people are commenting on, or thinking just like beyond the trends, or like how can you use it within the trends, I think is fun. All right, I'll let you guys go and give your last thoughts. I know so much to talk about.
So I would say, think about what your ultimate goal is in using TikTok. Like, is it to build your audience? Is it to build a younger audience? Is it to get more visitors? And it's because it's so much fun. You can go in a million different directions with it. But I think if you start there, and that's what your reasoning or your direction is for leadership, and why you want to spend the time and the effort to do it, and then focus on that while using, I mean, that's what Peyton's been doing, is she's been focused on that with the method of using all of these different pieces in fun. And I think that's where the creativity is really trying to do all of that fun piece. And then in some ways, don't think about it as, I mean, you're going to, it does take time. It does take a lot of effort, but try to fill in the limited time that you have with it, because the ideas do start flowing when you start talking to each other about it. It's not something where you really need to like chew on it and struggle with it. It is something that the more, because that's what makes it authentic, right? The more you just kind of think of like, this could be funny, this could be great. And like Peyton said, the imitation, the first kind of wacky video beyond all that other stuff was, we did copy Library Talk and did the library trust fall. And if anybody remembers that, and unfortunately, we didn't drop books, the girl just dropped. And so we got a lot of like, is she okay? You need to have a follow-up video, and that we got engagement that way. But look at what you like out there, try to copy. Maybe you copy something similar that matches a profile of your museum. Likely your visitors or your followers haven't seen that before. So don't make it too hard on yourselves, and have fun with it.
Absolutely. I agree. And I know we're limited on time, but I'd just love to say, I think the benefit of technology like this is being able to see people kind of like bring their own personalities to the table, and really that like democratizing of it. And like, I just butchered that word, democratizing. And it is a form of advocacy to kind of like get like curatorial staff on there, to get frontline staff on there, and seeing them on this like playing field where they can kind of take it in any direction. Even if it's not necessarily like following a trend, it's still expressing your museum, and that will hit an audience out there that's interested in what you're doing. So thank you for this. This is
no, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Do we have 1 minute or are we way over time?
We are kind of over time.
That's fine. That's fine. You guys just go follow them and find all their videos.
Yeah, go follow them on TikTok.
And please reach out if you're interested in collaborating or anything. We'd love to work with you.
Thank you
Yeah.
everyone for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peyton. Thank you, Annalise. Thank you.
Thank you.